guys, welcome back to my channel. Today, as you can tell from the heading or the picture, we are doing the Batwing wallet by Britaliscious Designs. I did my card slots a little bit differently. I did it the same way that I do in other patterns that I've shown you. But I show you how I fixed that problem because they become too short because I didn't follow the pattern. And I've also used today a new toy that I got. So I now have rivet magnets. So that was really fun to do. But yeah, so it's got two slip pockets in here. It holds card slots. It actually has the option to do two ID pockets, but I just did one. And then there's a little zipper section on the back for your coins. So if you'd like to see how I make it, stay tuned. So let's get started. I've actually got the pattern here with me, so we're going to do it the same way the pattern says. So, first thing we want is, actually, that's just how to do all of that. Right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our exterior and add some double-sided tape. So I'm just using my skinny 6mm or 1/4 inch to put right next to each side of the zipper hole. And I'm using my bronze colored teeth with the bronze zipper because I just thought that that went quite well with my bronze colored vinyl. Lots of bronze today. I don't have a lot of printed vinyls. I've only really got this one, the snakeskin one, and then I've got a couple that have sequins on top. And while that sound like they're clear sequins, but they're quite tricky to sew without getting all stabby. So I don't tend to use that one often. Okay, so I want my zipper to close in the up position. So the best way to do that would be to hold it and then just place it in the up position like this. You want to make sure that you're not sticking your zipper tab, and you also want to make sure that your zipper is centered into the hole, and then press down and push outwards so that we're not going to get any bumps anywhere. You just want to also maybe zip it so that you can see that there's no bumps, like so. And then we're going to take our zipper pocket and we're going to double-sided tape it so that it sits that way. So more double-sided tape. I know we're going to use a lot in this, but that's because it's a raw edge pattern. So the more raw edges of the pattern, the more more double-sided tape you use. Really? Stick that onto the zipper. Now you may want to squish this down a little bit, like that, and then peel off the backings once they've stuck, if they've stuck. Just thinking about it. My nails have reached that point of too long now, so now I need to go get them trimmed. There is definitely a sweet spot for me with the length of my nails. Too short and I can't sew, too long and I can't pull things. I also may be interrupted today because I am expecting some deliveries. So for that, I apologize if they happen. Aww. So my double-sided tape rolled up into a ball. Definitely not ideal. Let's try that again. Right. If you heat up the sticky tape, it's supposed to help it stick better. So I'm going to hold one end down with the snips and then grab the other one like that. There we go. So you want to make sure that these are pressed. I did actually iron these. Turns out they didn't iron as well as I was hoping. Then you just want to tuck all of those raw edges under. Bane of my existence today. It's going to be one of those days. Okay. stick it to this tape, tuck those edges under, stick the other side down. There we go. Right, much better. So now we're just going to stitch around the box. You can start wherever. Not really a right and a wrong answer. I'm going to crank my stitch length up to 3 3/4 so that it's slightly more decorative. And today I'm actually using the same color thread I used yesterday. So yesterday I used it on like a red. Today, I think this is going to look quite nice on this one. It actually looks purple sitting there. It's like a weird purple color. But because it's not a strong color, it blends in quite nicely. It's nicer than a harsh black, which is what the other option was going to be. I will write the name of the colour in the description and, or as always, the link of where to buy it. I think it's called Mulberry, maybe? But it's just a really nice, like you can barely notice the colouring. I like it. Okay. So that's that done. Stabilizers on, exterior closure. Okay, so the way I'm going to do that is line this up, and I'm just going to use a couple of Wonder Clips to clip this on, because that's right where I want the buttons. Now this one I'm going to do at the very end because I want the other end to pop out. So first up we need a hole punch. Sorry, I've got a little bit of allergies going on today. I took an allergy tablet, it's not really helping. So I'm just going to punch the hole through the pattern piece and my vinyl and my stabilizer. Like that. And then I got these fun new rivets. So they're actually magnets and rivets, which I thought were really cool. So you get 2 giant rivet caps. They're quite large caps. And then the magnets will be riveted on. So I've never used them before. And then you get one top and then you get 2 bases. So that one will stick on the sticky uppy one and that one goes in the hole. So that's how they'll work. So I'm just going to pop that one in and then screw in the top. And then I can take off my piece here. Pop that over there. Now obviously I want the magnet out, so we're going to put it wrong sides up like this and then pop the cap into the top like that, and theoretically we just squish it like that. Ah, how cool is that? So it's a rivet. It's got a nice domed back, but it's not too high. That was cool. I'm gonna like this. So I do sell the rivets on my website, and I can probably put a link in the description to where I got the presses, because they were not at Green Beans for a change. Okay, so I'm gonna put that one aside for later. I'm just gonna have it set up ready to go, but that will be probably the last step I do. So, magnet is in. Very cool. And then metal tag. So the next thing they say is put a metal tag in if you want a metal tag. So pop it there. You'll also notice mine is backwards to the pattern. It's because I cut the pattern pieces the other way. That's fine. So now we're on to the card slot panel. So that is these. So we're going to need a hole punch again. Now, if you want to be tricky, you can actually stick both on top of each other like this. And then clip that to here, making sure that your clips that you're putting on aren't going to interfere with the holes we're about to punch. So I've got both layers and the card slot panel, and then I can just do this. So you want to try and line it up in the middle of the dot as best as possible. This will also work if you've got a handheld punch. If you get sore hands or have arthritis or any kind of hand issues, I highly recommend getting a cam press hole punch over the hand one. My hands are actually in very good condition. I don't have any issues, but using the hand punch all the time actually made my hands sore. So I have just punched, what, 2, 4, 6, 8, technically 16 holes in under a minute, and I'm fine. I have no sore issues anywhere. So now that we've done those, we're going to need a cutting mat and a ruler and a rotary cutter. And it looks like I left my rotary cutter over there. So I'm going to have to hit pause and then we'll come back and cut all of these bits back. So I've just got my small rotary cutter. I find it a lot easier on smaller projects. So I'm going to put my ruler so it lines up in the center of each of the holes that we punched earlier. And if you need to, you don't have to cut all the way through with the rotary cutter. So at the start, I actually tend to leave a little bit, and then you can just snip that last bit at the end, because it's better to go not far enough than too far and overcut your holes. So I'm just going to line it up again, and you can even hold these little ones like a pen and then put pressure with your finger. And I'm going to go up to the hole, back down, and then we check it. So I haven't put enough pressure. You should never really go backwards anyway, and I never put enough pressure when I go backwards, so I don't really know why I do it. So I'm going to start here and just push along to there. And so then I can just come and check. So that one's fine, that one's fine, that last one is not fine. If you're finding that this is not cutting, change your blade. If it's a new blade and you find it's still not cutting, stand up and have the weight of your body over your hand. So I know that my blade's nearly blunt because this one has recently cut paper. I went to buy some new ones, but they were out of stock. So I've just got to kind of make peace with the blade that I have. But you can also have blades that are just for paper so that you can switch it in and out as you need it. All right, so I'm just checking these to make sure I've snipped it all the way, and this one didn't quite make it. I've missed by like 1 millimeter, but it's still a good idea to cut them. And the reason I punched the holes here is because the roundness means that it won't tear any further. So that's just something. You don't have to punch the holes. If you find it easier to just draw the holes on and rule from one to the other, you can do that. I like the circles. It's like a stopping point for the tearing. Not that this stuff's meant to tear, but over time it could. And it's less likely to with the circle end. All right, card slots. So we're going to take one of our pieces. Now we're going to need a lot of double-sided tape again. It seems to be the thing of the day. So I'm going to just start off by putting a piece underneath each of the slots I just made. Now because this is like a felt back, the tape should stick better now than it did before to the zipper tape. Snip and snip. So I'm just going to do both of these at the same time. We are also going to do the window hole first. But But if I do all of this right now, I don't have to come back and do it later, and I can just kind of do all the double-sided tape at once and not worry about it. I will need to put one more piece on because I'm about to use some double-sided tape here to stick the window down. Now you can use as much or as little as you want. If you're new to sewing and you worry about it shifting, do all 4 sides like this. If you're using a compound foot or a walking foot, you can probably just do the 2 pieces. Or if you're more advanced, you might not want this much sticky tape. I know it looks like a lot. Now I've lost my clear windows. Okay, this piece is done. Actually, this piece is that piece. I'm going to clip them back together. Worry about that later. Okay, I'm going to have to hit pause until I find my clear window. Found it. So, I'm going to peel off all the pieces around the window. So, 2 or 4, depending on how many you put on. I could have definitely done it with 2, but I just thought I'd show you how to do 4. Like that. And then we're just going to center it and stick it on. And squish it down. Try not to overstretch it at all. Depending on how thick you've got it, it will potentially stretch. So that's just something to think about. So we're going to stitch, and I'm going to back stitch, but you could also pull that stitch through if you wanted to, and do it the tie-off method at the back. You could also, if you wanted to get super creative, this hole right here, you could actually cut a bat shape out, which I think would be really cool, and I wish I had thought of it earlier. I would do that. If I make another one, I would make this a shape. So you could do a love heart, or you could do a bat shape, or like a moon, like a crescent moon, so you understand it's a moon and not just a circle. Lots of cool ideas right there. And so long as the shape is within the parameters of this square, you'd be fine. You could also get some HTV or heat transfer vinyl and do a silhouette of a bat and then iron it onto here. Just when you're ironing vinyl onto vinyl, don't hold it for as long. You could also do a sticker. World's endless. I'm going to stop now. Either way, super cool idea on like a little add-on for this bit. So now we are going to stick this up like this. No, wait. If I put that there, that's not going to work out. Or is it? No, it will. No, we're fine. I'm just trying to think. If I stick that on, won't that hide that? Because we want to be able to get in here. I don't know. I think I'm overthinking it. So I'm going to pop this in. No, because if I put that there, all right, I'm just fighting with myself. If I put that there, I am essentially hiding the hole. So that is incorrect. I was not overthinking this. So we need to put a piece of tape at the bottom. But we want to make sure, so we're going to get our card, stick it in the hole, but backwards. So I'm going to have it come out the front. And I'm going to sit it so it sits just below. So I'm going to want to put the tape right at the bottom. Right here. There we go. That makes more sense. The other one we do it the way I was thinking. This one, because of the window, we don't need that piece of double-sided tape. So I'm going to peel it off. Luckily for me, it comes off easy. So I'm going to peel the backing off this one, and we're going to start down here with our double-sided tape, with our backing. So it's going to sit like this to create the first pocket. That makes more sense. So I'm just going to top stitch along the bottom like this. to lock it all in. And so now, when we put our card in, yeah, see, now it makes sense. So we're going to go up and we're going to stick it to our next bit of tape. This is why I should read instructions before we start. I promise I will do it eventually. All right, so I'm just going to smooth that out, stick it down, and then we're going to sew above the next hole. So we're not going to sew that first one. We're just going to go straight to the next hole up, and we're going to do a couple of stitches and back stitch. Always back stitch at both ends to lock it off. And again, you can do the tie through method. I have done it in other videos. Like that. So now we bend this down and we continue as normal. So down like this. If you need to get your card and pop it in, definitely do that so that you know where your card wants to sit. And then you can just fold it up against the card like that. Or you can measure it. You can do either. It just depends what you think is quicker for you. Then I'm going to pull off the next piece because I've got my crease now. So we're going to pull that down, hold the crease, and then smooth it up and stick it down like this. And then we're going to stitch under that one. Now, you'll notice that I'm doing it from the other side. It doesn't matter if you go left to right or right to left. Even if you're using rainbow thread, it won't matter. Nobody's going to notice that you sewed in a different direction. So we're going to fold that there. We're going to pull off this piece of tape. We're going to smooth it down. We're going to have even amounts between these. So you can either eyeball it or you can grab a ruler and be whatever that is. We're going to do that again. Like that. Crease it and bring it up like this, and then we're going to stitch under that top one and back stitch, obviously. I'm sure you're sick of me saying it by now. Another really fun idea that I've just thought of right now would be to get ribbon that's got like cool prints on it, because you'll see it through the ID slot when there's nothing in it. Okay, so we're going to bend that down. I'm going to put a little piece of double-sided tape at the very top, and that's going to create our last loop. And this will be stitched down when we top stitch the whole lot. So this will just be like a temporary hold, and then I can chop off the excess. You just want to make sure you chop it off so it's slightly within the seam allowance. So like this. And like this. And then I just want to check that last one. You don't want it to stick up past the top. So to there, you've got your card in. Oops, that one's crooked. Stick it, pull your card out. You can double check and make sure your cards are going to work. Mine are all good so far. But that's because I measured it. So you can measure it or you can just stick a card in. Honestly, it's whatever you find easier. And then I'm just going to trim this off right below the edge of the vinyl. So from the outside and the top, you won't be able to see it, but it will still get caught when we do our final top stitch. So that's one side. Now we're going to repeat most of that process with the other side. So I'm going to take this one. This time we're going to start with it in the opposite direction, like this. And I'm going to top stitch that down. Back stitching, of course. I'm actually liking that the stitching is kind of blending in with my vinyl. It's not super noticeable. So I'm just going to line this up where I want it, like this, and then fold it like this. Peel off the backing of the next one up and top stitch. And there's somebody at my door. I thought I hit record and didn't, so I've stitched some of them, but not all of them, so it's fine. So we're just going to fold it down and continue on. And if you're wondering what the delivery was, it is a lot of interfacing. So after this video is recorded, I will go and fix up the website. Just going to flip it over and make sure that so this can actually come up just a smidgen, like that. Pull out the card, top stitch, back stitch, always back stitch, or pull it through and tie it off. The tying off effect isn't much neater if you've got a contrasting thread that you're going to be staring at, but because mine's kind of blending in with everything, I'm okay with it. So, piece of tape along the top, just off the edge, but still within the seam allowance like this. And then peel the backing off. And again, if you want to, you can just put the card in the hole, sit it where you want it to be, and then fold up the excess. Now something's gone horribly wrong here because that one is too short. That one, that one, that one's too short. All of my card slots are fine except that last one. I'm not sure what happened there, but that's okay. We can just get some of my missized one. Cut off the tabs because I obviously don't need them. And I can just attach a bit. Now, I'm not sure what went wrong or where, but that's okay. So I'm just going to put right sides together like this. I don't need that much, but we're just going to do it. It might have been because I went... I should have maybe started at the bottom like I did with the other side. Maybe that's where I went wrong. Don't know. Lucky I checked though. So that wants to sit there. So I'm just going to fold this up and stick it down. Now, because this is in there, you're not going to notice it. You won't even notice it when you put your card in. So I think what I did wrong was I should have just stitched it at the bottom like we did with this one. Instead, I started and made a loop. So lesson learnt, people. But I fixed it. It's not the end of the world. It's inside where nobody notices it anyway, so it's fine. Okay, done all of that. So now we are going to take our inside card slot panel lining, which are just the other two that we've got. And we need to fold over a 1/4 of an inch. So I'm actually just going to score it so that it helps me to fold it. So I'm just going to gently score a line like that. And then it folds on that line quite nicely, I might add. And so what that's doing is it's hiding the raw edge. Now, obviously, if you were using a, what's it called? If you're using a cotton, you could just iron this. But because mine's waterproof canvas, I can literally just score it and fold it. And then finger press it. You could also use some more double-sided tape if you wanted to. And so now we're going to put one on this side like this and then clip it down. And then we're going to do one on the opposite side as well. And then we're going to stitch it. So I'm just lining it up to make sure that that edge is all nice, which is why I'm using clips. You want this to be even because it's all just top stitching. So like that. And then this one, we want to do the opposite side. So I'm going to put it on this side. So when they're sitting up, it goes on the opposite side. So I'm going to clip that top and then clip the bottom. Now again, you can use double-sided tape, but I feel like there's a limit to how much I'd like to use today. And I only use it when you need it, not just for everything ever. Okay, so now we've got that and that. So I'm pretty sure we're going to top stitch it, but I'm going to check the pattern. Yes, so we're going to top stitch down those edges. So I'm going to put my needle down and in the first hole to make sure that it's not right on the edge and it won't tear. We're going to stitch and back stitch. Now back stitching only needs to be a couple of stitches. It doesn't need to be like a full inch long or anything. It needs to be about 2 or 3 stitches. Nothing too dramatic. And what the back stitching does is it locks in the first row that you did so that it won't just pull undone. That's why we back stitch, for anyone that's interested. Okay. So now we've got this and we've got this, and there's no raw edges on that back part. So we are now up to our main piece again. So I'm going to take the other zipper pocket piece, but the one where we didn't put a hole. I'm going to pop that over there. And so I actually feel like I'm going to stitch this. It just says use double-sided tape or glue, but I don't see how stitching's really going to harm anything. So I'm going to go back to like a joining stitch length of 2.5, and I'm just going to stitch all the way around the edge. We don't need to turn anything through. It's just going to hold it in place. It's a little bit fiddly, but it's not overly hard. And it's not going to create that much extra bulk, which is the other thing. So I'm just going to stitch around the whole lot. Back stitch when I get back to the start. And so now technically that's completely shut and I don't have to think about it. I can get in there, it's all fine. I'm going to trim it down so it's not showing in any kind of edge seam. But yeah, so you can just glue that. They do recommend glue, but I'm a rebel. I'm not really. I just didn't want to use glue because then I'd have to sit and wait for it to dry. And watching glue dry is like watching paint dry. It doesn't really interest me. So stitching works just as effectively. It's all sealed so I can put stuff in it. I'm not going to be worried that the glue is going to come undone because it's stitched. There was no real seam allowance used. It was just close to the edge. Right, next up is the construction. So we're up to the final construction. So the angled bit here goes against the batwing over here. And then these raw edges are getting tucked in so that the corner doesn't actually have raw edges. It's got nice folded edges. Now this obviously doesn't matter as much because I'm using waterproof canvas, but if you were using a cotton, you obviously don't want it fraying everywhere. It's definitely not ideal. Now, all the other edges should just be slightly smaller because they're all going to get stitched in but not seen. So I'm going to pin the whole lot of this raw edge down, and then we're going to come back and we're going to attach these on, because I like to do one thing at a time. I'm just that person. Right, so the excess here should go under the batwing so that it's going to hide that raw edge. But because the batwing stops here, that's why this corner's all nice and folded. I'm going to do the same to this edge over here. Like so. Lots of pins. Okay, so that's on. It's flush. It sits nicely. It sits up a little bit here, but that's because of the zip. Move the zip, sits flatter. So then the raw edges go into the center. And then we can just add it into the clips and probably add some extras. Like this. As a general rule, I always like to do corners first. So like that. So that now sits in there. And then we're going to take this one. And this one is going to sit right up against the batwing. Because then when we put the batwing on, it's going to hide that raw edge. Although I am just going to trim a little bit from there so it's not sticking out. But apart from that, we're good. Now, the easiest way to line this up is you can see where you folded that edge part here. It just lines up with that. So then there and there. Lots of clips everywhere. Like that. And then we just stick this one on. Now this one, I'm going to put some double-sided tape along here because I can't put clips there. I'm going to use a thicker one so I get a better hold. So, my child loves this tape. Sometimes it just gets a bit icky on the end because he plays with it. So I'm just going to put double-sided tape here, and that's going to hold that edge along the edge I need it to. Like this, and so I can line it up at the top corner and then come down like that. Add that corner into there. Clip here. Now, you can do as many or as few clips around this as you like. You could have also added more double-sided tape. It's whatever makes you happy. Right, so now I am going to start, it doesn't really matter where I'm going to start, but I'm going to start in the center here. There's no real reason for it. I'm also going to make sure that I'm on a 3.5 length, like stitch length, and I'm going to sew 1/8 of an inch from the edge. Now I'm going to back stitch, even though I'm going to go all the whole way around, because my thread is nice and blended. If you've used an opposed color, you can just not back stitch, go all the way around, and then stitch over your stitches at the end. Again, personal preference. Now I'm just going slowly because my height is changing because we're going up and down and up and down. So no hurrying on this. Then we're going to spin around, and I want to make sure that the tip of the batwing is getting got there. And then we're going to come up. Now these are tight curves, so take your time. You can even manually crank it or slow your machine down or whatever it is that you need to do to get that done. Stitch along the top, making sure we're getting everything. Needle down, pivot, back to the start. Now I'm going to hold these threads out of the way so that they don't get tangled underneath, because then it's a mess I have to clean up. And trim that off. Now I'm going to come and stitch it down the edge of the Batwing to seal that off. Now again, it's potentially sitting a little bit funny because of the zipper. Stitch, back stitch, off we go. And then back stitch when we get back to the stitching. And then we just need to add the veins onto the wing. So I'm going to start in the center of the point and then just come up and kind of curve it over to here to make like a vein or a bone or whatever part of the bat it is. So we've just got like this line, and it's very, very subtle because my thread is the similar, but it does actually squish the vinyl a little bit. So even without seeing it, you kind of still get this indent. So I'm going to do the same to the other one. Now I find it easier to start tip to up, but you can do it the other way if you want to. I'm not here to stop you. But if I'm already at the tip, can't really go wrong. And I also didn't make mine join at the top. They've actually got a gap because the whole thing's a wing. And so then that third one that was our edge stitching now looks like it's all in place. So we've got these two pots here. The last thing we need to do is grab our template, punch the hole, and then put in the other end of our awesome magnet. I'm very excited about these magnets. I know it's a ridiculous thing to be excited about, but that's just who I am. I like new toys. I like add-on to toys as well. So we're just going to punch the hole like that. I'm punching through the pattern and the thing. So next time I obviously won't have to punch the pattern hole. It's now just a guide. And then I want the magnet on the inside. So I'm going to put it on like this. And I'm just going to make sure that that's right before I tell everybody that. Yep. Then I'm going to, so it just kind of clicks into the hole. So the hole holds the male there. And then the female one has a raised part. So it holds everything exactly where it needs to. Like that. I've got my cap in the top. And so then I'm just going to squish. And I get this nice outer look. And then I can just do up my Batwing. And so now we're done. I actually kind of like this little detail. It was an accident. When I was cutting it, I didn't account for the edge. But I kind of like it there. It kind of finishes the edge and makes it look funky. So I'm kind of happy I left it. But there you go. One Batwing wallet. That was really fun to make. Now, if you wanted to, you could come along and put some glue on that edge and then edge coat the edge. I won't be doing it with this vinyl. I also do need to come along and just, so see here how that bit's not quite the same as the other one. I'm just going to come along with some really sharp scissors and just trim it so it's even. Nobody but you will know that you've done that, but it just helps. So like the same with this wing here. On the inside here, you can see that I didn't quite cut it perfectly. This is where I probably should have used my scan and cut to cut all the vinyl. But, you know, didn't think of it till now and it's kind of already cut. So there you go. And the beauty of my scan and cut is that I could actually scan the pieces in so they will be the correct size and everything. And I don't really have to play with the program too much to scan what I need. So there we go, all chopped off and all done. So that's a really cute little wallet. It is quite small. It fits, you know, in my hand, but it's cute. I can see that going really, really well for people that are into spooky or like a Halloween clutch or something. The only downside that I can see is that it won't fit your phone. So if you wanted to use it as a clutch, maybe you could blow it up a little bit bigger or make it a little bit taller. But yeah, so we're all done, guys. I hope that was somewhat helpful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!